Shorty is really, and that's about all that illustrates.
Yeah. Okay, we can
Theater is known as one of Soda's quirkiest departments.
Is that what it says?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Who wrote the intro?
Probably whichever students were in the yearbook thing. In addition to their fun-loving nature. Get it? Because they're all moody. That's the thing about theater. Like, you think of them sometimes, and you think of them as this very, like, a jovial, funny bunch.
Yeah.
But then you also think of them as being like, we're theater kids. We were all black. We're committed to our craft.
We like Shakespeare.
Yeah, and it's just like, that's a very stark contrast.
Yeah.
Humorous.
Interesting.
They also have an unattributed quote.
To who?
Well, unattributed.
Huh.
I feel like that was intentionally unattributed. Like, I don't feel like it was that hard to
find who said it.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just like something that's said.
Sure.
In the department. Okay. So should we update Mr. E on what happened last time?
Actually, I think that is a great idea.
Yes. We could go through. That seems kind of gimmicky if we try to go through all of our little bits that we had.
I say we could just recap the facts that we remember clearly.
Yeah.
And then, based on that, you know.
Well, here's the moral of the story. We recorded a very nice, very juicy podcast last time. It was about an hour and 45 minutes. And it was chock full of just the best world history content you could get.
So dense.
In this day and age, you don't get stuff like this.
Really a hearkening to an older, better era.
Indeed. And then, my laptop, which is what we're recording this on, died as soon as we finished. The moment we unplugged it from the power source to put it back in my backpack, it just shot the bed. And then, bringing it back online, all of the files were corrupted, and it gave its little attempt to save it, but I don't think the program was really trying.
It just told you it was.
Yeah, it just said, oh, we'll try to recover your files. No, it really didn't. And then, so now we're here. We're on version 2.
Second time.
Yeah.
Better time, hopefully.
But I have a different thing I'd like to talk about today, actually.
Oh, really?
Because I started reading a book between the last time we talked, the last, 24 hours. And that is for this summer course I'm taking on international relations called The Globalization of World Politics.
Now, where are you taking that class?
That's a really interesting question. I am taking it at Cambridge in the UK.
So you're going?
Yeah.
To the UK.
I'm going to the UK for 2 weeks, and I'm taking a international relations course. And so far, I'm about 3 pages into the book, but I've been struck.
You have to read all of it?
No, I have to read the introduction, and then I have to read select chapters.
Okay, because I was going to say, that's a lot to read by the summer.
Yeah. I'm also kind of behind. They gave it to us, a month ago. But, it's summer school, right?
Yeah.
How seriously can you take it? It's not, a grade.
Well, it is at Cambridge.
That's a good point. Yeah, so that's why I'd like to take it a little bit seriously. But then again, I also have this mentality where it's I'd like to have a relaxing summer, and I don't want to spend the first half of it
reading and cramming.
Exactly.
Sure. I get that.
So I'll bring in my ideas and things about international relations, and then but it'll be a sort of a more casual thing.
Sure.
And so what I want to bring up with you is these theories of world politics. This is basically where I got in the book. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 7 different theories.
Sure. Of
the world politics. The 2 biggest ones are called. There's a realist idea, realism in world politics, and then there's. It's not idealist. Realism calls them idealists, but it's a liberalist idea of world politics, right?
Just not less real than realist, but not necessarily fanciful.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so what is it? Liberalists are kind of people who they believe that the world has like potential to be a really good place, and there's always like room for improvement and room to get like better, and realism is the like stark like opposite of that, and realists they're like there's no way, there's only power in world politics.
Sure.
And for realists, the main actors on the world stage are states, which are legally sovereign actors, and sovereignty means that there's no actor above the state that can compel it to act in a specific way. Right?
Yes.
And so,
history fact number 1, the definition of sovereignty.
yes.
Mr. Estrada, 1 of 10.
Mm-hmm. The reason I bring this up is because there was a really interesting one, which was there's Marxist theories in world politics, but I wanted to talk about this idea of social constructivism, which is basically the idea that the social world is external to the people who live in it and is not easily changed. But it also is the theory that brings the most like individualism into it, and it's a very modern day theory. It came about in like the 1980s.
Oh, sure.
And so it's that anyone and everyone should be working towards change. In specific, like everyone has their own like concept of change, and everyone should be working towards that, and that's really what's gonna progress world.
So it's not even everyone should do a certain thing. It's everyone should work towards what they believe they should be working towards.
Basically, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, that's as far as the extent that I learned about it. And so, in this class, I'm sure I'll be shot down by very intelligent people. I'm scared that there's going to be like the most intelligent teenagers,
like the hyper elite, like future Ivy League kids.
Maybe, but I'm also worried they're all going to be like Lila and that sort of thing, where they think they know a lot.
Sure.
And maybe they do, but it's
false,
like
even if they do, they don't do it in a very open, easy to work with kind of way. Sure.
But I'm also banking on the fact that they're all going to be teenagers, like my age, and so there's going to be someone I can connect.
So you can appeal to them with your youth.
Yeah, I can appeal to them because we're all youth.
We're all youth.
I feel
we're all
like
in this youth experience together.
Yeah, so that's what I've been up to.
Yeah,
and that's what I wanted to start this section off with, because I don't think we can look for more like World War II facts.
Sure,
but I think we've already exhausted that vein.
What I was thinking was just to cross the 10 facts out. Facts.
Yeah.
To cross the 10 facts out, to get that out of the way, run through the ones from yesterday that you still remember, and the brief 30 seconds of why that fact is significant surrounding it, just so that we meet all of the requirements for this assignment.
That's good.
Not necessarily to like completely get back on that train for the full stop, but just to
maybe
touch
we can talk about something.
And there was a few else tied together.
Yeah.
So
I can
pull up the
article.
article.
I have the article again. We had. I know the first fact we read was number 69.
33, 100, 99, 98, 97, and then like 1, 2, 3, I think.
Yeah. Or we jumped around a little bit. We got 50 at some point.
Sure.
And there was one about like James Bond, and there was one about like.
Oh yeah.
A lot of them were about
wrote James Bond was based off I believe he was Hungarian or Bulgarian man, who warned the U.S. about Pearl Harbor, an unheeded warning. And after his very successful career as a spy abroad, he settled in the U.S. and was a playboy.
Yeah. All right, let me give you 69 again.
All right, let's do it.
Calvin Graham was only 12 years old when he enlisted in the U.S. Navy. He won a Bronze Star and a Purple Heart before the Navy found out how old he was.
Yeah, so that one, of course, Mr. Estrada, we touched on. I love how it's not even a podcast. It's just like a phone call with Mr. Estrada.
Yeah.
That one,
could be
of
the
course,
name of the podcast.
A phone call with Mr. E.
Yeah.
History with Mr. E.
Yeah.
That, of course, touches in on the fact that it's just kind of interesting. The reason that fact is interesting is because the United States, as a nation, was very kind of hesitant to enter World War II. Of course, before we were dragged into it, thanks to good old PH. But this young man, Calvin Graham, was very enthusiastic, and the reason that's so interesting is because it was in such stark contrast to our nation and its policies.
But also, like, as soon as we got dragged into the war,
The people were all about it.
Yeah, people were incredibly enthusiastic.
And it kind of tied into the idea of total war, where it was like everyone is all in, like the whole nation is devoted to it. So that's fact number 2.
Yeah, total war, and we'll come back to total war.
We'll come back.
We talked about that a while.
There was 3 or 4 facts on total war.
33 is another total war one.
Yep.
More than 650,000 Jeeps were built during World War II. American factories also produced 300,000 military aircrafts, 89,000 tanks, 3 million machine guns, and 7 million rifles.
7 million rifles. I remember the 7 million rifles really clearly.
Yeah.
That again, total war. Take
War.
the manufacturing powers of one of the powerful nations.
Yeah.
And devote it entirely to winning a specific war.
Yeah.
And that's what you found in World War I and World War II, unlike, say, the Vietnam War or something, where you didn't really have that enthusiastic participation. But World War I and World War II were very much like us versus a big bad guy.
Yeah.
And it kind of united the people.
And I think, tying into it, something else we talked about last time.
Oh, yeah.
I think that the idea of total war is very much not so much a patriotism kind of view, but more like a nationalist kind of angle.
I see it.
Because if it was patriotist, it would be more like, what was I going to say? It's like, we need to defend, Pearl Harbor was an attack on us, and so it's like we need to defend ourselves better, and we need to make sure that this doesn't happen again. Whereas nationalists was like, we need to defeat our enemies and need to go in and attack, and like join this thing. And even to the extent of like beyond just attacking Japan, the nationalists in the government
were said, you know what, fine, we'll take out all your friends too, and hand it off. Join our allies.
What is it? Zimbabwe? What were we talking about?
It was Ethiopia. The Christian Ethiopia and Italy using the gas attacks on Ethiopia. Yeah. So fact number 2.
Yeah.
Or 3. Fact number 3 was 7 million rifles.
Mm-hmm.
Fact number 4, we're heading over the only gas attacks, while plentiful in World War I, were only used in Ethiopia by Italy and in China by Japan.
Yeah.
And that, of course, is pretty interesting just because what is Italy doing in Ethiopia?
Yeah.
And it was Italy's involvement in Ethiopia that led to Germany coming into Africa, which led to us coming into Africa, and once we beat Germany, over into Sicily, over into the mainland of Europe proper from the south, sneak attack right up the poop chute.
Yeah, that's how the Americans do it.
To put it into a dignified way, of course.
Alright, should we do 100?
That's the fourth little tidbit there. Gas attacks in World War II, not as common. And then, of course, technically illegal afterwards.
Yeah.
With Geneva Convention and such.
Fact number 100. The oleander is the official flower of the city of Hiroshima because it was the first to bloom again after the explosion of the atomic bomb in 1945.
Yep. So back to Total War. And the whole us versus the world thing, and we must win this war or else the whole world is lost to the villains. The U.S. coming up with the nuke, ending this war. Would it have been won anyway? Signs point to yes. Obviously, hindsight is much easier to tell these things than in the moment, but was it perhaps a step too far? Sure. But did it ensure that the U.S. is going to have won the war? Yes. It was like it was the hammer down.
Definitely.
And so that is kind of that idea of going to, and that's part of Total War is it's just a new level of war. It's like regular war is like your
the soldiers that we
it's
already
like your
have.
Squirtle.
Yeah.
And then you got into like larger, like 100-year war and stuff, and that's like your war turtle because it's like just this evolution of war, and there's more involvement, and there's more people, and then the world wars came along, and now it's just a big old Blastoise shooting cannons everywhere.
Yeah, suddenly cannons come out of nowhere.
And now there's cannons everywhere. You have tanks, you have horses going up against tanks, and it is really just a step in the wrong direction, perhaps, but certainly a step in a new direction.
And a much more destructive direction.
Sure. Was that 4 or 5?
That was 5, because we got the one about.
Oh, true. We had the new one in the beginning.
Yeah.
5.
99 World War II casualties totaled between 50 and 70 million people. More than 80% of the total came from 4 countries: Russia, China, Germany, and Poland.
Yeah, and that's
more than half of these casualties were civilians. Most of whom were women and children.
Yeah. So there's that sad part. Part of this whole total war, step in a new direction thing, is kind of the unspoken rules of war that were present before are no longer present.
Mm-hmm.
It's like an upperclassman the week after finals. You know, you were there before, you're not now.
Mm-hmm.
That was really convoluted. I only said it because I know you've said it before, Mr. Estrada. You're always like, "Oh, well, you're sophomores now. You're not going to be here after finals."
It's like you just don't. You don't see very highly of us, Mr. E.
You think of us in such a low light.
Yeah. Although I don't think. I think you might be right.
I think I'm going to play frisbee golf. Is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But I also think I played frisbee golf last year.
Yeah, so it's like not about being sophomores, it's more about just being students.
To be fair, first semester freshman year, I stayed at school.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, during the winter thing. Yeah, I did that too.
Yeah, and then second semester, I left. Actually, second semester I came back to say goodbye to Miss Schuler. I had a very, lengthy, honest, genuine conversation with her.
Huh.
Knowing she wouldn't be there again, and she and I developed we had a good thing going. And so we just talked it out before I left her last night. So I was like, this is it.
Huh. And was that when she was playing bingo with people, or was that during winter break?
Yeah, that was. Yeah, it was both times.
I went to play bingo with her, although I had avocado before that. I didn't actually have Suba that year.
Alvarado?
Yeah.
Okay, I was confused. I legitimately thought. There's been so many teaching changes. Like Mr. Estrada teaching AP Gov next year.
Yeah. Good for you.
Yeah. Good for you, Mr. Estrada. Yeah, Mr. E.
Mm-hmm.
We got way off topic.
Yeah, what were we talking about?
Unspoken rules. Civilians injured.
Yes.
Poland. The fact that Poland is one of the 4 nations with 85% of the casualties of World War II, when they basically didn't fight, is really horrible. Because that basically means that they just got walked into and then they just kept killing the Polish people.
Yeah.
When the Polish people were defenseless, on their hands and knees, already having surrendered, and then just, pow, they're done for. To someone who's already that is, that wouldn't have been cool. I mean, obviously it's not cool. You know what I'm saying? That wouldn't have passed before, but this was the big war. This stuff was ramped into high gear now all of a sudden.
And World War II was really only the only war where total war and the unspoken rules of war were dropped.
Yeah.
And because before that, World War I, there was a lot of casualties, but they didn't really have the means to kill at the same level until later on in the war when people started dying due to
gas and
stuff. But the rules of war were still there. It was mostly only soldiers dead.
It was an old-fashioned war.
Yeah,
with
and then
new-fashioned everything else. And then World War II said old-fashioned war isn't cutting it anymore. We've got the new-fashioned everything else.
Yeah, and we're gonna win this way.
We're gonna win. We're gonna jump over this fence and just beat the other guys. And the other guy said, well, we can jump over the fence too. And it turned out well for nobody.
Yeah, they took down the fence and it's all gone.
Exactly.
But then after that, there was the Geneva Convention, and theoretically, all the other wars after that,
yeah, theoretically,
were supposed to follow those
Geneva Convention.
The Geneva Convention, and so the rules of war, the unstated rules of war, were then stated, and so the World War II was really unique in that way, where there were no rules to be broken.
And so it kind of had full liberty to just go hog wild.
Yeah,
and it did so at the expense of these Polish civilians. To name one group. Obviously, they're not the only group.
But they were a really big part of that.
That was
because really they did very little participation in the war.
Fighting was not the Polish thing in World War II.
Yeah,
it was kind of get taken over just as the war starts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but I mean, it had to be. They're just too close to Germany again. Okay, bringing another topic back.
Everyone takes over Poland historically.
But that's just because Poland's so centrally located. And one topic that we were talking about last time was that the United States is just so powerful because literally it's just based on geography, and that they have this power because they're not close enough to any hostile.
True.
Hostile.
And we're getting into this, but I just want to point out, just for the record, Fact 6 was about the 85% statistic.
Yeah.
Moving into Fact 7, the article we read at the beginning of the year by Jared Diamond, Guns, Germs, and Steel guy. The civilizations that are what they are right now are because they were lucky and they were near water.
Yeah.
And they could build around the rivers. Mesopotamia and China and India and all these things were because they were around water.
Yeah.
Papua New Guinea did not have such luxury.
Exactly.
That's why they're still, like, in the forest with loincloths. Yeah. And, like, you know, when they had the British explorers or whatever going, like, 150 years ago, like, they're eating each other.
Yeah.
You just, that's not really a thing. That hasn't really been a thing. They just kind of missed out on all of this period of growth.
Because just purely based on geography.
Purely based on geography.
And geography has been the single largest factor in the development of any nation.
Is where they were.
And that's why the United States is the world power right now, because they are physically uncontested. Sure. Whereas if a nation like in Western Europe tries to get big, there will be tariffs and treaties and things made against them so that they will not be that.
Purely just to stop them from taking over everyone else.
Yeah, because it's too easy for that. And that's why Poland was so, like... I mean, that's why Poland gets taken over every single time, because it's right there, and it's right in the central place of all these hostile nations. Sure. And it's a reason why Poland can never become a world, like the strong world, like a France, UK, like US kind of world power. And it's just because of geography. It's just based on where they are.
Yeah, purely. And I guess that can tie into, this will be fact number 7. Why did World War II and also World War I have such high growth rate? You want to talk about the 7 million rifles and stuff.
Yeah.
That would all come down to, with this increased geography, what materials you have access to. Now it's past that point where people are getting materials from other places. So now this war is not fought, and Germany's going to win just because Germany's where all the steel is.
Yeah.
Now it's like everyone is drawing on everyone else around the world to pool all these resources to win this war. And other than World War I, this is one of the first times where you have such a global scale. I mean, it's called World War II.
Yeah.
Such a global scale of, like, allies pulling on each other. Yeah. Now, obviously, this was true of World War I, too. But you have these allies that, in theory, keep you safer. Because if someone messes with you, you have other people to back you up. But, and while that is partly true, in practice, it also just exacerbates these wars and is just stoking the flames. Because now when there's a small war, instead of it being a small deal between two people, it gets blown up. And now it's a deal between two sides of 10 each.
Yeah.
And fact number 7, alliances, while helpful, exacerbate wars globally. The fact is in there somewhere.
Yeah.
You understand the concept, Mr. Strada. You taught it to me.
Yeah, and that's how you could really call World War I and World War II like a world war. As in, like, it wouldn't have been a world war if it was just these countries using their resources to fight it. But they're breaking into, like the UK was breaking into, like, India and stuff like that, and and all of Africa, and that's probably why Italy was in Africa at that point. Because they're using other countries' resources, and that's what makes it a world war. Because the entire world,
the entire world was fighting.
Yeah, but
Mexico
the entire
did
world
not have a stake.
Exactly.
Like, Brazil was not in. There wasn't there wasn't a Brazilian troop.
Yeah.
There wasn't Brazilian forces, but you can bet your butt that Brazilian materials were used in World War II.
And that would have never happened.
Sides, probably.
That would not have 20 years before that.
Literally, like 1870s. That would, if it was a war between Britain and Germany, there would not have been Brazilian supplies in there. There probably would not even have been, like, Portuguese supplies, let alone Brazilian. Wow. Goes to show the scope and scale.
Alright, let's give you 98. Formed as the Personal Protection Service for Hitler, SS, as abbreviation of
Schutzstaffel,
Protection Echelon, virtually a state within a state. The SS was headed by Heinrich Leopold Himmler, 1990 to 1945, and carried out massive executions of political opponents and ethnic minorities. It was divided into two groups, the Allgemeine SS, General SS, and the Waffen SS, the Armed SS.
So really, that little fact boils down to the SS in Germany. And this really is what fact number 8 is going to be right here, right now. Fascist societies, the fact is like the definition of fascism.
Yeah.
Having one ruler
People
play complete control over everything. And
Yeah.
it's usually a charismatic leader.
Mhm.
It's usually someone who people enabled in the first place.
Yeah.
And a fascist leader is one who has control over a government and then makes reforms to the government to sustain him and not the state.
Something along the same lines of like popularity-wise, and this is in no means doing the offense to him, but Kyle Trefny sort of has the same sort of like.
Could Kyle Trefny be a fascist leader?
I think he could be. I think he has the same potential to be a fascist leader.
I don't think he would.
But like, it's the same. He wouldn't want to be a fascist leader. But like, he's the same sort of like.
Sorry, I didn't mean to offend you.
Yeah, exactly. Hitler would never say that.
Hitler would never say sorry because Hitler would still probably say sorry better than Kyle does.
Mm-hmm. But he also Hitler doesn't apologize for very many things.
He probably does not.
But
did not.
But the point is, like, if Hitler were to go down, the Nazi Party would be on very thin legs, and
it's not really
would fall
there without Hitler.
Yeah, because he's the face of the thing, and that's the same kind of idea with Kyle Trefny. If Kyle Trefny were to move schools, say, the environmental club of Soda, although Grace is a fantastic...
Although you would have Grace McGee, who has the same passion as Kyle,
but
and the same knowledge as Kyle, and the same leadership as Kyle, and is just as nice a person as Kyle. Like, they are both fantastic people.
Yeah.
Great to get along with. Would she necessarily generate this same sort of, like, zealous following?
Yeah.
You see if Kyle
She
Trefny?
probably wouldn't. And that's, you know, it might have sexist ties, it might have, like, other ties, but, like, for some reason, Kyle is able to generate this kind of, like immense following, and he has, and everyone in Soda
knows him.
Yeah, knows him, and the
he's
political,
Kyle. Yeah.
The political like scope of Soda has changed drastically, as far as I can tell, since we've arrived.
The class of 2020.
Yeah, since Kyle's went on stage and talked about snow leopards.
Yeah.
From.
You know, like, I helped write that speech for him.
Really?
I was just like campaign manager.
That's really cool.
He really wanted to like dial it back and seem professional.
Oh no!
And I was like, Kyle, buddy, I get where you're coming from.
But
let me tell you, your thing is that you are just so obnoxiously in love with nature.
Yeah.
And that's your thing, and just embrace that and let people recognize you for that, and they will appreciate your genuine nature when it comes to this. And then he went out there and he's like, snow leopards, and he like looked over at where I was sitting and like flashed a thumbs up. He was like, it's working. People are cheering. I'm like, no shit, it's working.
But like,
he was going to go out there and be all professional.
Yeah.
Like, actually, my topic today is snow leopards.
Kyle. He would have lost to Grace.
He would have lost to Grace.
But that would have been too bad.
Because they're both excellent people, and they're both very good at what they do.
But then the political mind and political scope of Soda would have never shifted from race and sexist issues, which it
are not unimportant issues.
It's not unimportant, but that's where it was focusing.
And now environmental issues are very relevant topics.
Yeah, I'd like to believe that a lot more people care about the environment because they're like, we have an environmental club at Soda, and we know Kyle Trefny, and so he cares about the environment, and so that's like something that's actually brought up now. You know, it's like a contender with Black Lives Matter and gun control and things like that,
and all that other stuff.
Yeah, because it's just
fun
as
stuff.
important.
Fun stuff. Yeah.
In my opinion.
View. Yeah.
Yeah. The environmental.
I mean, if it all affects your world. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a fun one.
Yeah.
That's number 8, the definition of fascism. And there's the context for it, I suppose.
Next one is the poison gas fact, which we already went over.
Okay.
And then we gotta dig out the other facts, because I was skipping around for a while. We did the one about We Can Do It poster.
Oh yeah, let's get that read out.
The now iconic We Can Do It poster was initially not intended for public display, and only a small number of people saw it when it first published in 1942. It only gained popularity in the 1980s when the feminist movement appropriated the image. Which is still really odd to me.
I've always thought of that as being like an image from World War II.
Yeah, and that
the
was
Rosie the Riveter We Can Do It image.
Mm-hmm.
Just so that you're clear, Mr. Strauss.
Yeah, I think you can picture it. You're a history teacher. Although, if you need to Google it, we'll give you a moment right now.
Bum 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 Bum, 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 bum. Okay, you're good.
Yeah, presumably you haven't pulled up this point. But the Rosie the Riveter image, it was, I mean, from what I heard about it, it was for domestic people in the U.S.
Yeah,
to
the
get them
husbands had
encouraged.
gone off to war.
And so
the wives said, you know what, we're going to do our part. And she rolls up her sleeve and she goes to manufacturing rubber for the tires and such.
Yeah.
That's what I always thought it was.
Yeah.
Now to learn that that wasn't the case.
Mm-hmm.
It's all feminist propaganda.
Yeah.
I mean, it really worked if that's what it was supposed to be.
Because I've seen it all over.
Yeah, you see it there. I have it in my house.
Really?
In the kitchen.
Oh.
We have a Rosie the Riveter.
Wow. Now you know that it only came about in the 1980s.
In the 80s. I feel duped.
Mm-hmm. They've like, but then again, it also sort of makes sense because the powerful thing about the Rosie the Riveter image that I always thought it was that there was a feminist movement in, around World War II, and I thought that was very
that old. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was that old, and I thought it was
that's ahead of the curve.
Yeah, I thought it was really encouraging, and like that we had been there, but it also was kind of discouraging that it's taken this long for even the meager amount of change that has happened to happen.
Well, also, I mean, to get where we were like before the 80s to where we are now, there's a pretty large shift.
Yeah.
Like most of the nation was okay with having a woman as a president.
Mm-hmm. Like she won the populace vote.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. But then again, I thought the movement had started in the 40s or maybe even before then.
Well, I mean, it had, but it just was not nearly at the scale perhaps we thought it was.
Mm-hmm. So it's kind of disappointing. But at the same time, I appreciate that change had come so quickly from the 80s to now. Yeah. As opposed to having taken
No, I mean, to be fair, it has been taking time though.
Yeah, it has.
Like women's suffrage and
we're nowhere close to having equality between genders, between any inequalities.
Divide in people.
Mm-hmm. Which is interesting. Is there any group that had been previously stigmatized and disenfranchised? I'm looking for the right word. I'm not really sure what it is. You know what I mean.
A group that was previously that-ist.
Mm-hmm. And then
is now
not that.
Yeah.
I guess you could say the stereotypes about Jewish people are a lot harder to stand on footing.
Yeah, nowadays, really,
mm-hmm.
the image with the guy looks like Sacha Baron Cohen, hunched over with the big nose and the little hands
mm-hmm.
rubbing together. I mean, really, I think almost everyone nowadays will look at that image
and just be like, "That's offensive,"
and kind of be like, "Yeah, that's," or chuckle out of it, "Oh, that's that's old," or something like that. You know, I think the percentage of people who would take that image and look at it seriously have dwindled greatly.
And I think that is almost solely because of World War II.
Yeah.
And the persecution of very specific minority group.
Yeah, and now the vilification of people who did persecute that minority group.
Do you think if the minority group had been Muslim people or black people,
it would still be that way?
Yeah, Jewish people would have a much worse light on them, but then it would be difficult to insult a Muslim person.
I don't know. It very well, but there were Jewish people in America at the time.
That's a good point.
There were Jewish people in America in the 40s. If they were Muslim, Islam was still
a foreign thing.
Yeah. So if they had persecuted Muslim people, would Britain have come in? Or would everyone at least have pretended to care about the Jewish issue? Because obviously it was about Germany not taking over everyone else. Mm-hmm. But would people have pretended to care about the Muslim part and just worried about?
I don't.
Perception's a hell of a thing.
Yeah. Because there were Jewish people in America, and then a lot more Jewish people came over
afterwards.
Fleeing during and afterwards.
So we're still used to having Jewish people around.
Yeah.
Whereas
and so it wasn't a big
Muslim
change.
people in the U.S. in the 40s was probably more of a...
Mm-hmm. I don't think that's a question that really could be answered without
I don't think so.
Intense academic study. And even then, it's just theory,
It's all just speculation.
Yeah. I don't know. All
right. Wild stuff. Watch. Fact number 9.
Yeah. And then we'll hit fact number 10. I think we did 50. I remember 50 specifically. Yeah, this was the really sad one.
Oh, yeah.
Prisoners called Sonderkommando were forced to bury corpses or burn them in ovens. Fewer than 20 of the thousands of Sonderkommandos survived, though buried in hidden accounts of some were found at later camps. Which, I don't know.
Text me break.
Yep. When someone texts you, you gotta text back.
Exactly, especially if it's a reputable
It's
person as
Mm-hmm.
Miss Jacobson.
Yes.
You don't say no. She's up there on that Grace McGee, Kyle Trefny excellence train.
Yeah.
Those are just three young people doing the absolute best they can with their lives. And
They're role models.
they are driven, positive energy, inspiring people.
Yeah.
Gina Jacobson, Grace McGee, Kyle Trefny. Forget Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen. That's the dream team.
Mm-hmm. I'd like to see them go far.
I'd like to see them play basketball. That would be fun.
Yeah.
But also, I would like to see them succeed in the way they set themselves up to.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really just going off on tangents, so I don't have to talk about it.
Yeah, I'm trying to distract from the fact. I mean, I think the context here is said without words.
Yeah.
I think how we feel about the fact is coming through quite strongly, Mr. Estrada. I'm sure I obviously I'm not going to make statements about you, but I'm sure you would feel the same way.
Mm-hmm. It's one thing to have total war, and then one thing to use mustard gas and unethical ways of slaughter, and then it's another thing to imprison people and force them against their will.
And this is just the worst of all
people.
of those things together.
Yeah, it's you can't really think of anything ethically and just morally worse.
It's almost... literally, it could not be worse. I mean, it could, but I don't care to think about how.
Yeah.
I know it could be, but I don't really want to sit there and
I'm no
think
masochist. Wait, not masochist. I'm no,
sadist?
Sadist. Yes. It's one of them.
I think it's sadist.
Sadist. I don't wish harm upon other people. I think I might even consider myself a pacifist.
You'd actively go out of your way to not have people harmed?
Yeah.
I feel the same way, actually. Unless it's a very specific kind of instance.
And being a pacifist, I feel like is against the patriotist view.
Really?
No, I think it's against the nationalist view.
I feel like you can still be a patriot and a pacifist.
Yeah.
Being a nationalist and a pacifist is that's an oxymoron.
Yeah.
Almost. Very nearly.
The nationalist is almost synonymous with being a conservative, being far right, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily the same thing. But, pacifism does not fit in with the alt-right.
Mm-hmm.
It's more anything to get your means.
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
I mean, what does Nazi stand for? National Socialist.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, that was the 10th fact, Mr. Estrada. And it's unfortunate it ended on such a downer.
We can just... let me Google...
You need some, speed or something to get you back up after that one.
Uplifting...
Don't do speed, Mr. Estrada.
Uplifting...
I believe it's illegal. I wouldn't care to have found out, though.
We can also Google that.
Is speed illegal?
Yes, we'll do both.
Up next on History with Mystery.
Is speed illegal?
I just
spelled it wrong.
I wonder if
drugs.
I miss out on a part of my high school life not doing the speed.
Oh, yeah, it's methamphetamine, so...
So illegal.
Crystal meth. It's also crystal meth, it's also crank
I knew
meth.
it's a form of methamphetamine, but
Yeah.
at one point it was just over-the-counter drugs.
I think it's synonymous with, meth.
Really?
So
Awesome.
it's illegal.
So really just, if you're going to do any drug, Mr. Estrada, don't do meth.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to do any drug.
Yeah, take that from us.
We were such experience with drugs.
Do you think we should look at a BuzzFeed article? Yeah, we'll look at a BuzzFeed article. I don't really mind.
Alright,
it comes to
compare
uplifting
Mr.
facts. Choose a number between 1 and 51.
33.
33. 33. Also, wait, before we start, I think we should have a class. We were talking about this last time. I think we should have a AP numbers class.
AP numbers, not math.
Not math.
Just numbers.
Yeah, numbers are interesting. Psychology of numbers, that sort of thing.
I love it.
Okay, 33. A news anchor was reunited with a young man she helped find an adoptive home for.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, that's uplifting.
That just makes you smile.
Mm-hmm.
That's quite nice.
Although, to be fair, it's not incredibly specific, so I don't know how like good I can feel about it until I know more about the story.
Even if it said like Lindsay Dunham, 34 of St. Paul, you know, Minnesota, was reunited with Christopher Zwicker,
Yeah.
age 21.
All right. Here's another one I find interesting. A man found $98,000 in a desk he bought off Craigslist, and he returned all the money.
Wow, huh.
I don't know if I would consider that uplifting. I would just consider that just an interesting decision.
Yeah, I mean,
Maybe.
you have to think, how does a guy not know there's $98,000 in a desk?
Mm-hmm. And how does
if he didn't know about it, like, I feel like, here's the thing about losing $98,000.
Mm-hmm.
You don't just lose $98,000. Oops, I lost 6 digits.
It's just
darn.
Yeah.
Better move on. Like, if you've lost $98,000, that is like family laundered drug money.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is illegal money that otherwise, I mean, you don't just lose $98,000.
Yeah.
If that guy didn't know it was in his desk, that's because that desk previously belonged to like a mafia family or something. I feel like that $98,000 is not like, oh, there's my $98,000. I've been looking at, like, that is not just run of the mill lost item. I'm not sure if you would give up.
The kind of mentality that the guy had, which I feel like this is what he had, was the same kind of mentality that you have with like frisbees that you find in the woods, and you see that there's like a number on the back, and you're like, okay, I'll call you and give your frisbee back.
And if you text me back and say you can keep it, because you're in West Virginia, then I'll keep it. And if there's no name on it, then I'll gladly keep it.
Yeah, because that's your fault.
That's a you problem for not putting your name on it.
But then when it comes to $98,000, there's a different mentality. I think you are allowed to have.
I think that purely just the scope of it being $98,000.
Yeah.
As opposed to even the most expensive discs.
Mm-hmm.
Even the best plastic, best mold, special, professional signature edition, like tour series, it's still like $25 tops.
Yeah.
That's a whole different... And if I lost one of those and I didn't put my name on it, I have no claim to get that back.
Yeah.
I'm pissed. That's like $25 down the drain.
You're like pissed for like a day or two.
Yeah, I'd be mad about it, but it's also $25.
Yeah, but then...
But 25 divided by $98,000 is 0.00025%.
Mm-hmm.
That is, let's say round to 3, that's a third of a 100th of 1%.
Yeah, and
that's so like $98,000, the scope of that just completely overwhelms. It's like No Country for Old Men.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you find that amount of money, no matter what.
You're gonna want to hang on.
You're gonna try to keep it.
Mm-hmm.
No Country for Old Men. I know you were a film major, Mr. Estrada.
Yeah.
Fabulous film. Fabulous book, actually. Book's probably better.
Really? I never... Did you read...
I read the book.
So watch both?
Yeah.
Which one did you do first?
I read the book first, actually.
And then did that prompt you to watch the movie?
6th grade, I read No Country for Old Men. And then I watched the movie probably last year.
Huh.
Javier Bardem, of course, is Anton. Brilliant. The man plays a villain quite well.
Yeah.
Psychopaths are freaky. Like a true psychopath, someone with just an absence of human feeling.
Mm-hmm.
That's a scary thing to me. Because it's like the same reason zombies are scary, or like the guys with the masks in the movies are scary, like slasher movies.
Mm-hmm.
It's because it's like they look human.
Yeah.
And they talk like a human, and they walk like a human, and they act like a human.
Yeah.
But they're kind of almost not.
Yeah.
That's like I don't want to say psychopaths aren't people.
Mm-hmm.
They are literally the same as us.
Yeah.
But they don't feel. And I personally feel that feeling is such an important part of the human experience. It's based on just interactions with people and feelings you have on things.
Yeah.
And without it, you're almost not. You're like a passerby.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can see things, but you can't really interact with things in the true human way. And so, like a true psychopath killer, like Anton is in No Country for Old Men, has no remorse. It's not like he takes glee in it. It's not like he's giddily laughing as he's hurting people.
Yeah.
It's not even like he's the Joker from Batman, like, ha ha ha, and like blowing orphans up.
It's just nothing.
It's not even that. It's just a complete nothingness.
Mm-hmm.
Like, look, I'm going to kill you. You know?
Yeah.
It's my job. You got in my way.
There's a rule that's used in, like, I guess manufacturing. I'm not really sure where it's used, but, like, so you'll have, like, an object, right? And the closer you get to human features, the, like, scientifically cuter it gets. And so you have these dolls that are getting, like, bigger and bigger eyes, and dogs that, like, do, like, human things. That's adorable.
No.
And then, but
Uncanny Valley.
yeah, you keep going cuter and cuter and cuter, and then suddenly it
just
drops off.
Horrifying.
Mm-hmm.
Until it actually becomes human.
Yeah, until it becomes human, and then it's human.
And then it's just really human.
Mm-hmm.
But that Uncanny Valley is where you have, like, those hyper-realistic robots with, like, the flesh-like faces.
Yeah.
But they can't quite walk quite right.
Mm-hmm.
It's horrifying. It's creepy. That's where I feel like Anton in No Country for Old Men is as a psychopath.
Mm-hmm.
That's
what I feel like.
Talks like a human. Walks like a human.
Yeah.
But, I mean...
It's the closest you can get to a human, where still remaining in Uncanny Valley, and I think that's what makes it the creepiest.
Mm-hmm.
Because you get like Chucky and stuff like that.
Yeah. And
Or
it's and it's frightening, but it's not scary.
Mm. It's this doll, or like the clown from It.
Remember Pennywise?
Mm-hmm. Pennywise. He like
also
he's very
solid movie.
He's much closer to human than Chucky
not,
is.
Yeah.
But he's not a psychopath. He's not someone.
He's a whole different. He's not even from our universe, literally.
Yeah,
like it's a different thing.
He exists separately, and so that's what makes him less scary.
Anton, you don't know his background. Pardon, that's why he's so scary.
But
you
he
don't
came
know
out
who
of
he is or
someone.
what
He came out of a
But
person.
he had a loving mother who
Mhm.
assumedly was a person. Like, psychopaths are not that common. So his
Yeah.
mother, his parents were real living people who wanted to care about him, and they cared about him and loved him as their son.
And he didn't.
And he just felt nothing
Mhm.
back. There was an absence of anything coming back from him.
Yeah.
Like, towards his parents. Had no friends no real friends that he actually was friendly with.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, gosh. Horrifying. Oh, my gosh. I'm still trying to distract from that 10th fact, Mr. Estrada. That really, if anything, just shows the depravity of World War II and the great heights it led to in terms of the war and the lowest lows it reached in terms of human morality.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
Well, we're at 47
minutes?
Yeah, 47 minutes.
Well, I think that's a excellent length for you to listen or not listen all the way through, because I wouldn't blame you if you cut off when we started talking about BuzzFeed articles.
Yeah.
I mean, really, any of it you could have tuned out.
Mm-hmm. But
I wouldn't blame you.
As long as you count that we got 10 facts, because we definitely got 10 facts,
We
so
definitely
maybe a
got
little
10.
bit more about world history.
Maybe a little more just in there's buffer room.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah. Well, thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw.
This has been Max Chu and Martin Schuler.
Yeah, I hope this has done more than enough to satisfy your grading requirements. Not that we're asking for any special favors.
Of course not. But
we hope that you can recognize that we feel like we have met those requirements.
And we did put effort into this. We went. This is our second day of recording. I'd like to point that out.
We didn't give up.
Mm-hmm.
Came back, pushed through.
Yeah, and thank you very much.
Thank you.